I'm one of the dudes that didn't get shot 9 times. Well, really, he got shot 3 times and lied. But he got shot 3 times, took advantage of the quick success. That ain't how the game designed. And when you play those kind of games, it's just time to expose you for what you really are, and that's a money.
I'm about dollars. Who the f*** 50 Cent?
I'm deciding to f*** your life up. Rick, bro, I'm gonna f*** your life up. For fun.
50 Cent has been running the hip-hop scene for years, and everybody knows he's had beef with nearly everyone in the industry. One thing about him, disrespect never goes unchecked. He's always ready to clap back, no matter how messy or wild the situation gets. Some rappers even thought they could flip the script on him, but that never ends well. Remember Ja Rule? He trolled 50 saying, "I don't know him." Big mistake. 50 came swinging back, no hesitation. Even Jay-Z threw shade at him live on stage. And yep, he had to deal with the fallout too. Plenty of rappers have tried, but the real question is, how exactly does 50 shut it down? Let's get into it. Young Buck never really stood a chance once he crossed paths with 50 Cent. At first, he was shining under G-Unit, making noise in the industry and showing serious promise. But things flipped fast when 50 started sensing something was off. Buck began throwing slick disses his way, and that was the spark that lit the beginning of the end for him. Maybe Buck missed the memo, or maybe he just didn't care. Either way, 50 didn't hesitate to make his feelings clear, saying flat out, "I think that's over. I think his career is finished." Brutal words from someone who used to be in his corner. The downhill slide became official when 50 pulled a bold stunt. He played brand new G-Unit tracks for MTV with the entire crew present, except Buck.
About dollars. Who the f*** 50 Cent?
That move spoke louder than any rumor. It was a crystal clear sign that Buck was out of the circle, and fans watching knew the tension wasn't just speculation anymore. The writing was on the wall, and Buck's fate in G-Unit was sealed. Even though 50 and young Buck tried brushing it off to the media like nothing major was happening, it was clear the vibe was off. Just a week after 50 told everyone things were all good, he pulled a cold move. He went on Hot 97 and kicked Buck out of G-Unit live on air. The same brutal way he had done to the game before. On the station, 50 straight up told the Hot 97 crew, "You can look at that and see that's game all the way." According to him, the real issue came from Buck's reckless spending and non-stop complaints about not getting paid. Those royalty checks weren't lining up with the lifestyle Buck was chasing. But that wasn't all. 50 didn't like how Buck was moving either. One day he's rocking the stage with Lil Wayne, then the next, he's dissing Wayne on G-Unit tracks.
I think that's over. I think that's done, but
What do you mean?
I think his career is finished.
Things hit an even uglier point when 50 dropped a leaked phone call. Buck was crying on the line, begging to come back into G-Unit, admitting he was broke and didn't know what to do. But everybody knows 50 doesn't play nice or hand out mercy when the drama gets real. Buck tried to fight back with a diss track and even leaked a taped convo, taking shots at 50 for exposing that private phone call to the world. You could tell he was hurt and desperate to get his point across, but by then, the damage was already carved in stone. In a sit-down with Vlad TV, Buck revealed another layer to the beef. He said part of the fallout was tied to 50 firing Shaw Money XL, the president of G-Unit Records, and also their manager. When 50 cut Shaw off, he expected loyalty from the crew, but Buck refused. He kept Shaw as his manager. That decision only added more fuel to the fire and pushed the tension with 50 to a breaking point. After officially being kicked out of G-Unit, things spiraled even worse for Buck. His money troubles exploded. Despite not talking to 50 or the label, he was still locked into a contract to deliver 2 more albums. Meanwhile, the IRS was allegedly on him heavy, with reports claiming he owed millions in back taxes. With no way to drop new music and no cash flow, Buck hit rock bottom. By 2010, he had to file for bankruptcy. That same July, it got ugly when his personal items, like expensive watches and even studio gear, were auctioned off in public for everyone to see. Just when it seemed like Buck's situation couldn't get any messier, wild rumors started swirling. And guess who sparked them? None other than 50 Cent himself. He threw out claims that Buck had a trans girlfriend, and the story spread like wildfire. Buck later sat down with Vlad TV to shut those rumors down, flat out denying them. But the scandal had already taken on a life of its own, and you'd think 50 would finally move on after all that drama, right? Nope. In 2021, 50 came back swinging at Buck again, this time demanding an alleged $250,000 debt he claimed Buck owed him. Pure pettiness on full display.
I think that's over. I think that's done. But
What do you mean?
I think his career is finished. You know what I'm saying? And it's because, like, his temperament, he won't actually.
According to 50, Buck was still tied to G-Unit Records and hadn't delivered the 2 albums left in his contract. The legal fight between them is still dragging on, with the details behind closed doors staying a mystery. Meanwhile, Rick Ross was watching all this unfold, but his own beef with 50 seemed to come down to one specific moment that rubbed him the wrong way. Or maybe it was just one big misunderstanding. Their feud lit up after a quick run-in at the 2008 BET Awards, and the reason sounds almost unreal. Rick Ross claimed he didn't like the way 50 Cent looked at him, just a stare that, according to Ross, left a bitter taste. But here's the twist. 50 later said he didn't even remember seeing Ross at the show. Still, that awkward moment became the seed of a beef that's been burning for years. By 2011, 50 was convinced Ross had started the whole thing just to boost his own name. He even said, "It all started because I supposedly looked at him the wrong way." That means he just wanted to compete to make a name for himself. And he did. Whether Ross truly had smoke with 50 or just wanted clout, that Biet run-in changed everything. Not long after, Ross fired back musically, dropping bars aimed straight at 50 in his tracks, and the tension only kept building. When Rick Ross dropped Mafia music, he went straight for the jugular. In the track, Ross took a nasty shot by bringing up a house fire at the home of 50's ex, Shaniqua Tompkins, something that happened while the two were locked in a heated custody battle over their son, Marquise.
Conversation. Streets want to know.
That was a bold and risky move, and Ross clearly came in ready with ammo for his diss. But Ross wasn't just dissing any rapper. He was stepping into the ring with a master of rap warfare. 50 Cent had built a career off beef, with a reputation for stirring chaos and never backing down. When he clapped back at Ross, 50 made it crystal clear. He'd gladly destroy Ross's career just for fun. And let's not forget, he'd already crushed other rappers before, sometimes over way smaller issues. From the outside, it looked like Ross might have bitten off more than he could chew. One of the first rumors 50 pounced on was Ross's alleged past working as a correctional officer, a detail that quickly became the centerpiece of 50's attack. The moment fans saw 50 gearing up to dig into Ross's past, everybody knew this wasn't going to end well. With 50 Cent, once he spots a weakness, he doesn't just use it, he milks it dry until there's nothing left. Ross had handed him the perfect opening, and anyone who knew 50's track record would have given Ross the same warning. Stay far away, because once 50 comes for you, it's a brutal ride with no brakes. And sure enough, 50's clapback to Ross's diss was swift and savage. He dropped a track called Officer Ricky, clowning Ross's alleged past as a correctional officer and painting him as someone who was never really about that gangster life. It was a direct shot at Ross's credibility, and 50 wasted no time twisting the knife deeper. But that was only the warm-up. Soon after, 50 poured time, money, and energy into a full-blown campaign aimed at wrecking Ross's image. He even created a whole animated series called Officer Ricky, where he endlessly mocked Ross's past and turned his name into a running joke. By then, it felt like 50 wasn't just beefing. He was on a mission to erase Ross's street persona completely. Once Ross landed in 50's crosshairs, it was impossible to think of him without remembering the non-stop roasting from 50's. For more than 20 years, J. Rule has been stuck in the middle of 50 Cent's non-stop clapbacks, and this beef is legendary. Their feud dates all the way back to 1999, and it's been pure chaos ever since. It all kicked off when Ja Rule was filming a music video, and one of 50's friends ran up and snatched his chain. Now, 50 himself wasn't directly involved in that robbery, But here's where it gets messy. Ja later spotted 50 chilling with the same guy who jacked him. According to 50, that's when Ja started having a problem with him.
For him, outside of mentioning me, when things get bad, they mention me. It gets covered further. I get covered across the...
But if you hear Ja's version, he swears it was 50 who twisted the whole situation into an excuse to start a feud, probably thinking it would give his rap career a boost. What came next? Years of back and forth diss tracks, hostile interviews, and public shots thrown at every chance. Even when Ja Rule eventually admitted the beef had run its course, 50 refused to let go. He kept pressing, roasting Ja every time he had the chance, making sure the world knew this feud wasn't dead, not by a long shot. One of the wildest moments in this long-running feud came just recently, when 50 Cent decided to drag Ja Rule for a performance that he thought went way too far. On September 7th, 2023, 50 posted a clip from Jay's set at the BMIR&B and Hip Hop Awards in Miami, and the scene had everybody talking. In the performance, Ja Rule was tied to a wooden post while singing his 2000 hit One of Us. The setup gave off major crucifixion vibes. Sunset in the background, singers in white robes surrounding him, and Ja comparing himself to Jesus on stage. That was all 50 needed to launch another round of trolling. Of course, 50 wasted no time clowning the moment. He dropped the video on Instagram with a bold caption, and like clockwork, his crew had his back. Tony Yayo, Uncle Murda, and others piled into the comments, filling the section with laughing emojis. But 50 didn't keep the roasting online. This trolling spree spilled over into the real world too. Their feud even had a bizarre twist about a decade in, when 50 Cent and Ja Rule randomly ended up on the same flight together. Shockingly, nothing crazy went down. The plane didn't turn into a boxing ring, and Ja even tweeted afterward in a lighthearted way, making it seem like the drama was in the past.
Back recently from overseas and was disrespectful, man. Like the way he's like, it's like he's feeling himself, like because of how well his...
But of course, 50 being 50, he couldn't just let it ride. In an interview later, he claimed Ja was nervous the whole flight, saying that 50 walking up and down the aisle had him shook. Naturally, Ja wasn't about to let that narrative fly. He hopped on Vlad TV and clapped back, saying he was actually asleep the whole time and didn't even notice whatever 50 was talking about. Classic 50 and Ja, two completely different versions of the same story, keeping the feud alive even when nothing happened. But while that drama was unfolding, 50 had already put his own career on the line for another rapper, The Game. Back in 2004, when How We Do dropped, 50 gave Game a huge push that skyrocketed his buzz. But by the time 2005 rolled around, cracks were showing, and things between them started to get rocky fast. Around this time, The Game had a bad habit of dissing random artists and DJs for no real reason, and it was 50 who had to keep cleaning up the mess. He made phone calls behind the scenes, trying to smooth things over so Game's rising career wouldn't crash before it even took off. But the real friction started when Game wanted his debut album, The Documentary, to drop before 50's second studio album. That move forced 50 to push his own release back to March, and he was not happy about it. From there, things only got more tense. On January 28, 2005, Hate It or Love It dropped. But by then the cracks between them were showing clear. In the music video, 50 made a subtle but loud statement. He refused to sit in the front seat of the lowrider with Game, making it obvious their relationship was souring. But the real breaking point? When Game went public saying he had no beef with Nas, Fat Joe, and Jadakiss, all three sworn enemies of 50 at the time. That move was like betrayal in 50's eyes, and it lit the fuse for one of the biggest fallouts in rap history. That was the last straw for 50. He saw the Game's move as flat-out disloyalty. So when he sat down with Ed Lover on Power 105.1, 50 didn't hold back. He went off on Game and officially kicked him out of G-Unit Live on the air. No sugarcoating, just cold in public. And while that drama was unfolding, 50 also had another heavyweight name tied to his history, Jay-Z. Their tension sparked years earlier when 50 dropped his infamous track How to Rob in 1999. On the song, he joked about robbing every rap star in the game, and of course Jay's name got mentioned. At first, it seemed like no big deal, just part of the competitive rap culture. But things got real when the two crossed paths backstage at Summer Jam. Jay gave 50 props for the bold track, but he also made sure to warn him he'd get him back for that shot. And Jay didn't waste time. He clapped back the very same night, spitting bars that made it clear he wasn't letting the jab slide. Years later, Jay was still referencing that diss, reminding people of 50's come-up and how their paths crossed in the most unpredictable ways. When Jay-Z fired back with his reply on Blueprint 3, 50 was actually thrilled. To him, the fact that Jay even bothered to respond meant his diss had hit a nerve, and that was a huge win. 50 even admitted later that Jay's reply helped boost his rise, because getting under the skin of one of the biggest rappers alive was the ultimate validation. Jay's clapback started as a freestyle, but ended up recorded on his track. It's hot. Some like it hot. Of course, 50 didn't just sit back. He fired right back, rapping about rappers catching feelings over how to rob, and even throwing shade by referencing Jay's iconic song, Can I Live on his own track? Be a gentleman. Whether it was genuine beef or just competitive sparring, one thing was clear. Jay-Z had his eyes on 50, and he wasn't ignoring his growing buzz. Then 50 dropped in Da Club and his album, Get Rich or Die Tryin', and everything changed. He skyrocketed to the top, and it looked like Jay wanted to keep the rising star within reach, so the two ended up sharing the stage on the Rock the Mic tour. Jay-Z was already sitting at the top of the rap throne, while 50 was the hungry newcomer climbing fast, ready to snatch the crown. But something strange went down on that tour. What started as both of them rocking the stage eventually turned into shows running without Jay. Not long after, Jay shocked the world by announcing his next project, the Black Album, would be his final one, calling it his victory lap. It looked like Jay was ready to step back just as 50 was stepping all the way in. But while 50 was rising, another storm was brewing, the feud with Jimmy Henchman. This whole clash really started because of 50's fallout with The Game. Back in the mid-2000s, both 50 and Game were signed under Interscope with Dr. Dre and G-Unit backing them, and at first, it looked like a powerhouse team. But the unity crumbled fast when Game refused to back 50 in his wars, with Ja Rule, Fat Joe, and others. By 2005, things exploded. Game was officially kicked out of G-Unit, and that's when tensions with Henchman, who was managing Game, turned deadly serious. What started as rap beef quickly turned into real-life bad blood, and the stakes were higher than ever. Henchman, who carried serious weight in the music industry, wasn't about to sit quiet after the way 50 treated his client. He saw 50 as a threat, while 50 viewed Henchman's attitude as nothing but disrespect, and things eventually spilled out of music and into the streets. By 2007, the beef hit a disturbing new level when Tony Yayo, one of 50's G-Unit soldiers, allegedly slapped Henchman's 14-year-old son, James Roseman Jr., just because he was wearing a Czar Entertainment t-shirt, Henchman's company logo. That crossed a line most people don't touch. It was seen as a direct attack on Henchman's family, and he wasn't going to let it slide. Yayo ended up arrested over the assault, but the damage was done. From that moment on, Henchman swore revenge, and the feud spiraled out of control. Violence between both camps started to escalate, and by 2009, things turned deadly serious. The most shocking incident came when Lowell Lodi Mac Fletcher, a G-Unit associate tied to the attack on Henchman's son, was gunned down in the Bronx shortly after leaving prison. Many speculated Henchman had orchestrated the hit as payback, though nothing was ever proven. Still, the streets were buzzing, and the feud had officially crossed the line from music to mayhem. And all of this was later confirmed in chilling court testimony, proving just how personal and dangerous the feud had become. Henchman's downfall came when the FBI finally built a massive case against him, exposing a $10 million a year drug empire. Rumors swirled that 50 might have quietly played a role by feeding the feds information, but nothing was ever officially confirmed. In 2011, Henchman was arrested, accused of using his music industry ties to move product and launder millions. But it didn't stop there. During his trial, shocking details surfaced linking him to the murder of Lowell "Lodi" Mac Fletcher, with witnesses testifying Henchman had ordered the hit as revenge for the slap on his son. By 2013, the hammer came down. Henchman was sentenced to life in prison for both his drug empire and his role in the murder. This whole saga showed just how far 50 will go when he feels disrespected. Whether it's on the mic or in the streets, he never backs down. And that's the wild ride of 50 Cent's most infamous feuds. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive into hip-hop's craziest stories.